On a previous
Good morning,
episode.
everybody. In this episode, we are going to get on our new project here. It is a Manco Intruder 2. And we got lots of black stuff in there. Alright, engine runs. Switch. Alright, so we're back at it on the Manco Intruder 2, and we got a pile of parts for it. First off, we got tires. We got these cool sunf Power 2s. Very aggressive tire. Went with stock sizes 18958 in the rear. And then in the front we've got these little guys. Same tire, but they are a 145/76. So it's going to be a little bit of an upgrade, I'd say. Definitely better traction than these, but these are good tires that were on here. But I like these a lot. So we're trying these guys out. They should do us pretty good. I think that's going to be the first thing that we work on, because that's what's been bothering me the most about this, is having 4 flat tires. The other things we have are, we got some oil to do an oil change. We got air filter. We've got a new belt, and we'll talk about that when we get to that. And then we got 2 different throttle cables. I only need 1 throttle cable. So I think that that's all that we need to get this thing going. So that's my goal today, is to get all these parts on here and get this thing running and riding today. So oil change, torque converter belt. We got to do some work on the torque converter, air filter, throttle cable, tires, and then yeah, I think that's good, because last time we worked on it, we got the brake working, we got the cage bolted back on, we got these lights bolted back on. I'm not so sure if these seat belts are going to work or not, but we'll see. But yeah, so let's get to it. Let's start with these 4 tires. Alright, so we got the front 2 mounted. I had to take them over to my school bus to use the air compressor because of my movers. After a month and a half, still have not delivered the second half of our stuff. So we got the 2 front tires mounted, and busted the strap that I had around it because it wouldn't seat on the bead. Of course, I didn't get any video of this. It wouldn't seat on the bead, so I had the strap tied around it. And then I don't know why it took a lot of pressure to actually push these up and to seat them around the bead once it started sealing. And I busted the strap. The strap came flying and hit me in the wrist. Took a little chunk out of me there. But sacrifice I'm willing to make so that we have front tires. So let's go ahead and slam these back on, and then we'll tackle the rears. got our tires mounted for the rear as well, but we're gonna hold off on putting these on until we work on a couple of things. One, we got to get this throttle cable in here, so that's going to be easier without that tire over here, wheel and tire. And then over here, we got to do a couple things. We got to put a chain on, which I found some chain that I got laying around, so we're going to make something work here with some of this. And then we also need to pull this torque converter off. I want to get some of the rust off of the pulleys. And this belt here, I don't know what this is. This doesn't seem like a torque converter belt. It's a Gates belt, I believe. Yeah, it's a Gates belt. But if you look at a torque converter belt, look how much wider that is than that belt. I mean, it's totally different. This belt is, you know what? It's not even a one-sided belt. So this torque converter does. The torque converter has 30 series torque converter has a slanted side. You can see kind of that one's got like a slant to it, but the other side is flat. It's got a flat side, and I thought that maybe this had a flat and a slanted side or an angled side, but it doesn't. It's just a V belt. It's just a Gates V belt. So somebody just slapped a V belt on here, and I'm sure it worked, sorta. But definitely not going to work like it should. So we got ourselves a real belt, and we need to do an oil change, put that air filter in there, throttle cable, do all this, and then the last thing we're going to do is slap those wheels back on there and get this thing going again. I'm going to take this thing for a ride. So it is, what time is it? It's only about 11 o'clock, so we still got some hours to get this done. So hopefully it doesn't take too long, and we can be out riding this thing today, hopefully, for sure. That's the goal anyways. So I was just thinking about, like, how am I going to change this oil? This thing has like these plastic shrouds under the engine, and if this thing was tilted the right way, which I guess we could probably adjust it to make it work, the drain plug has like a little a route for it to flow out, like a little creek of oil. So if we can get this thing lean the right way, right now I think it's uphill because the whole room is uphill. So if we pop the front off the jack stand, so that leans it forward, and make sure that it's leaning over that way, we should be able to drain this oil out. I'm just wondering, where does it go? So we gotta do all of that stuff. Let's start with the chain and torque converter. Jeez. Well, one thing good about this is all of these parts say Comet on them. So these are real Comet parts. Comet Industries, Richmond, Indiana. So that's a plus in my book. Genuine Comet parts. This all looks pretty good, except for being just rusty on the side where the belt is going to run. That's really what I want to get fixed up. And then we got our little bronze bushing still on there. And our backing plate, which is pretty dang rusty. So we want to clean all that up in there, all of this. Just smooth it out so that we don't have a belt that's just rubbing on rust. Alright, so I'm cleaning up this driven pulley, and I noticed that the little plastic ramps here on the torque converter, they're pretty much gone. So you can see when this comes, it's supposed to come in contact with it and then ramp it up, but it's going right past it and getting into the actual aluminum of the pulley. So I'm going to take it apart and I'm going to try to swap these over to this side, and then hopefully that'll take care of that and give us a normal engagement, because it's supposed to basically be here, like sit about there, and then as it spins up it's going to push out, or actually no, it's supposed to be anyway. So anyways, we got to get these we're going to try and get these swapped over to here. So what we got to do is basically just pop the snap ring out, try not to kill ourselves with the big giant spring that's in there, and then we'll be good. Moment of truth here. We're getting somewhere. All right. It's a good fit. All right, so two more things that we have to do. We need to replace this throttle cable here. You know, it goes all the way up to the front to the pedal up there. And then we got to put an air filter in here, which is super simple. So let's work on this throttle cable, and then of course we got to put the wheel back on. Let's go ahead and get this throttle cable swapped out. I'm not going to show you guys too much of that because it's just boring. You know, I got to basically take this from up front, unhook it here, throw a new one in there, and then we'll be done. So I will see you once the new throttle cable is in and the air filter. Alright, so we've got fresh oil, we've got new belt, torque converter belt, new chain, we adjusted the brakes, got new tires. I think we're doing pretty good here. We haven't tried to start this yet today, so we'll see how hard that is. Let's give it a shot. Okay. Well, thing is trying to run away on me. Interesting. felt too tight or something. Let's see, I think that was choke on. Let's pick the rear tires up real quick. Alright, well, it's almost like a governor issue. The governor's not letting it idle down. Man, I'm already thinking about degoverning because it's not wanting to idle. I'm trying to figure out why. Alright, well, I'm going to take a look at this. I'm going to look at maybe even degoverning it. I don't know why it doesn't really want to idle, or it doesn't really want to idle, so I'm gonna tinker around with it. I'll let you guys know what I figure out. Alright, so before I put the air box back on, I want to show you guys what I did. The governor arm still in here, still hooked up. I'm actually using it as a spring, throttle return spring. Actually, there's a couple of throttle return springs. There's this one here, there's this one here, and then there's this one over here. So you shouldn't have any problems with throttle return. Okay, so I took this little piece of metal linkage arm off of between the governor and the throttle here, and now we're straight linked just like that. So I drilled a hole in the end of the arm here. The reason I did it out here is the further out you go here, the more of a linear kind of linkage you're going to get. The closer in you go here, it's going to be shorter. So the downside to this whole thing is basically, you know, your throttle pedal is pretty short. You know, you only have to pull a little ways to get full throttle. I guess that could be a downside or an upside. But I just want to show you guys what I did. You know, I just drilled a hole, redid this linkage. I put this little bend in it to bring it up here. And then I put this bend in it here. And then I put another bend in it to go this way so it doesn't pop out of there. And yeah, it should work pretty good. So now I gotta put this air box on, and we gotta adjust the idle and get this thing running right. Let's see if it's gonna try and run away on us. Okay, give her a little more throttle than that, or a little more idle than that. Another little turn. Okay. Maybe our idle circuit's a little bit clogged in there, I don't know. There we go. Now it's not trying to run away. It's like just barely trying to creep on me here. Alright, let's see what happens here. It's so quiet. Whoa, that's way down there. Alright, I've never driven one of these before. Man, you don't get much steering out of it. That's it, huh? Okay, I see. I see how that's limited. It'd be nice to get more, be able to get more steering out of it. But let's strap you on somewhere and go for a ride. see how this thing does. Okay. So I can feel this big bar. Oh yeah. Dang. So first of all, I'd like to say it's much sketchier than I thought it would be to drive because the brakes suck real bad and I can feel this bar in my butt. And that's all because this seat is wasted. So that really sucks because it makes it really hard to ride because I'm literally falling through at this point. So I gotta find something temporary I guess, to put across here until I can get a new seat, or if I can just cut a piece of wood and to this size and then staple it or something. I don't know. Here's the mounts for the seat. It's pretty bad. So let's see if we can do something to at least so we can keep riding. Alright, so here's what I got. A couple of little deck boards in there just for temporary purposes. I got another seat on order, or about to order a seat for it. So let's take it for another quick spin. Not gonna lie, the brakes on this thing suck. All right, well, I think that's gonna be it for this episode. I'm gonna take my son and let my wife have a turn on this thing. It's pretty fun. It's gutless. The brakes really suck. So, you know, room for future upgrades. The suspension is too soft. Lots of things. So we definitely got some room for improvement here. And you'll definitely see this thing back on a future episode. So we got our seat from Go Power Sports. Go Power Sports does not sponsor any of my videos, but they just happen to have this seat in stock, so I picked it up. It looks just like the factory one. Let's see how it fits. Alright, well that's it. Brand new seat. Feels amazing, feels way better. One thing I learned is you gotta loosen up, if you're gonna do it like I did and not actually take the seat frame and the sliders and all that off, you gotta loosen up the seat frame and the sliders so that you can adjust it to fit the bolts that need to go on the bottom of the seat. So, yeah, got a new seat in here. That's it for today. We'll catch you on the next one.